All right, next in avoid uh, act independently category is deny favor treatment to advertisers, donors, or any other special interest, and resist internal and external pressures to influence coverage. Now, what that means is don't give positive coverage to people because they're advertised. Now, there's always exceptions to this. There's always a little bit of a fine line. Typically, a newsroom tries to act independently. Um, you know, obviously, your publisher, if you are in a town like any town, like anywhere around Central, Illinois, one of the biggest advertisers in any print, online, whatever, one of the big advertisers is going to be car dealers. Okay? In the story. Just no question about it. Car dealers spend a lot of money on car ads. They buy full page ads in papers. They buy banner ads. They buy all kinds of stuff. They spend a lot of money on advertising, right? They want people to come in because, there's a decent profit margin and, people want to research it and they want people to see what they have. And, they tend to advertise, right? Car dealers tend to have a fairly large advertising budget. There are other groups that do as well, but there's usually several car dealers and they will advertise, and sometimes they'll advertise beyond the region and try to get people to drive a few hundred miles to pick up a car because they can get a better deal. So advertising or car dealers usually rely upon advertising. And so oftentimes what happens is advertisers, donors, other special interests, it doesn't have to be even advertising. It can be people who donate money. It could be, groups that, the newspaper's in coalition with. The newspaper, has a cooperative agreement with the local theater, whatever. And so those people may say, well, we want to make sure you have a story about this. We want to make sure you have this or that. Well, that's fine. But but you don't want to let that influence your coverage. You still need to be accurate. You still need to be fair. You still need to tell the full story. If the car dealer does something wrong, gets arrested, don't refuse to publish it because of the fact that they advertise. Okay? With that said, the other thing is like one time I remember I was doing a story and what they were doing was like it was an OnStar promotion where if you went to a car dealership and you push the OnStar button, and if the person picked up from OnStar and they said hello and they'd say you've just won, right? Because they knew it was coming from the car dealership. And if they said you just won, you would win the car you were sitting in. Okay? And so the idea is that you could go out to a car dealership, take a test drive, and when you push the OnStar button to learn about how it worked, they would give away one free car each day somewhere in the United States. Okay? It was done randomly. And so it happened to be that a local, this is like a 30-day promotion. They were doing this, giving away a car every day. And it was anywhere. And it happened to be one of the local car dealers. Somebody won a car at their dealership. And so they called and wanted a story. And my boss said, this isn't a really great story. It's cute. It's kind of nice that they won something. But go out there and do it because they're also a big advertiser and they want us to do a story. And the advertising department wants us to. Now, at the same time, that is news. It is a news story. It's not a great news story. But I know, we probably played that story low in the paper because we realized that we didn't want to just be giving away a free ad to these people. That we weren't going to do it just because they were our advertiser. We did it partially because they were our advertiser, but yet we weren't going to do it because they were their advertiser. There's kind of a thin line. Because at the end of the day, in a market like Springfield, Taylorville, Jacksonville, Litchfield, any of these towns, somebody winning a free car in this national promotion is kind of a cool thing, right? It probably is newsworthy. But the fact that they're an advertiser then begins to muddy it. Are we giving them special treatment because they're an advertiser? And I think the answer is, probably not. Okay? But you have to be careful about that, right? You always have to be careful. It is news, but sometimes newsrooms will refuse to do it for no other reason because they're an advertiser. You want to avoid the appearance of having done something special for your advertiser, not having held your advertiser to account. Why? Well, because they make money. They never write anything accurate about the car dealers because the car dealers pay a lot of money to them. Well, that's a legitimate criticism and concern I think every journalist should have is are we being too nice to car dealers because they are a main source of revenue for us? And car dealers, I say that, that also goes for TV news. It goes for websites. Websites have a lot of banner ads. TV news, half the ads are either seed corn or cars. That's what most of the ads are. And then distinguish news from advertising and shun hybrids that blur the lines between the two. Prominently label sponsored content. So the idea here is distinguish news from advertising. Don't kind of blur the lines. There's sometimes what magazines oftentimes do what they call advertorial. And advertorial is the idea that they'll go out and they'll do a story about some product that one of the people that advertises and the people will pay. So maybe you have a wedding magazine and you decide to do an advertorial where, Joe's wedding reception shop or Joe's wedding reception venue, exhibit hall, whatever you call it, conference center or whatever, that they are going to pay you $5,000 to do a story about how great weddings are at their venue. Well, magazines will do that. But you know what? You shouldn't do it. Okay? If you're a wedding magazine, it's legitimate to do a story about how different venues can provide it. But as soon as you take money and you begin to do it as a form of advertising, people think that that's a legitimate story and they are trusting you to give them accurate information. And you aren't, and when you're getting paid to do it, you're overlooking the fact that, you went in the back and bugs were crawling out of the part of the store or whatever. You're overlooking the fact that the toilets were dirty. You're overlooking these things, right? And so what happens is if you take and you do advertorial or you do advertising and make it look like news, you're not really providing accurate information and you're doing your reader a disservice. Remember, you serve the reader, not the pocketbook of your company. What am I doing now?